What is going on, everybody? My name is Nick from mwk-pop, and welcome to the first ever episode of OMG K-Drama. In the first episode, we are going to break down everything, or what I think is some of the important parts of the brand new TVN drama called Incomplete Life. So let's get it started. Incomplete Life. Let's talk about the first 4 episodes. Since this is the beginning of, the first time I'm talking about this drama, we're going to introduce the main cast of characters. Number 1, we have got the female character An Young-yi, a bright and smart intern at One International, the company that this drama takes place at. You've got Jang Gue-Rae, who is the character. He has no skills, he has no smarts. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's very bad at his job. Number 3, we've got the department manager, or the team leader that Gue-Rae works under. His name is Sang-Sik. He is a bit of a rough exterior. He doesn't have a very nice personality, but he has, on the inside, he's a bit of a soft spot. So let's talk about the first 2 episodes, and then we'll talk about episodes 3 and 4. Episode number 1 was very, very long. It wasn't very long. It was an hour and a half. It wasn't expected. I didn't think it was going to be that long. I went in expecting it to be an hour, and then it was over, and I was like, wow, that was an hour and a half. I didn't think it was. Well, it felt like it was an hour and a half long, but I think that the slowish pacing of the show is fine. It wasn't boring. That's the main thing. If it's an hour long, an hour and a half long, and it was boring for an hour and a half or half an hour, that's not good. But there wasn't a single point in time where I was bored. But over the first 2 episodes, it's basically setting up, introducing the characters, setting up any sort of conflicts and things that we might be wanting to learn about these people. So number 1, at the end of episode number 2, we're going to start off with An Young-yi. Number 1, basically, we learn that she is like the best. She's really good at her job. There is nobody else, no other intern that works for this company that compares to her. She is the best. No, everyone wants to work with her. Everyone wants her on their team. So An Young-yi, though, she works really hard, obviously. We know that. But does she work a little too hard? Does she focus so much on her work that she doesn't have much of a life outside of work? And I say yes, she does. Why is that? Because at the end of episode number 2, near the end of episode number 2, I should say, there's a scene where, Gue-Rae is basically having his monologue about himself, his internal sorts of things, and, it shows her walking into her apartment, her apartment, and all of, she's got all of her things from when she moved to take the job. All of her things are still packed up. So she hasn't had time to unpack anything. And I think that, or I'm going to say that the reason that is because she works so much that she doesn't have any time for herself. Right, we've got that. That's An Young-yi. Jang Gue-Rae himself, we know he has 0 skills, 0 life skills. He spent his entire life trying to become a professional baduk player. That was his sole focus. That was what he studied. That is what he did. And that was it. He didn't do anything else. Didn't focus on school. He didn't focus on having a social life or anything like that. He was just baduk. He just baduk. That was it. And when that didn't pan out, he had to resort to part-time jobs. So he worked a lot of part-time jobs between when he ultimately failed at becoming a baduk player to when he gets his office job. So yeah, that's Jang Gue-Rae. He has a lot of confidence issues. He doesn't think that he's good at his job or anything like that. He really just doesn't think that he's good at his job. And obviously he doesn't know what he's doing. Sang-Sik, the department manager, he has an abrasive personality. He doesn't want to help anybody. He seems to care more about himself and what other people think about him, his job performance, than anybody else. So when his teammates or when his employees mess up and they make mistakes, he obviously the thing to do as an office employee, as a manager, you take responsibility and you apologize to your higher up who comes to you and yells at you, but he takes it out on his employees. But he also does have a bit of a soft spot. There was a point in episode number 2 where he's out with they're doing a team party with everybody, and and he's drunk. He drank a lot, and he gets in an argument with another department manager who works on the same floor as him, actually sits right next to him pretty much, about how this other guy's intern did something that came down on him, right? So he wasn't very happy with that. He was really mad at Jang Gue-Rae because it was kind of his fault, but he learns that it is not Gue-Rae's fault, but it is actually this other guy's intern's fault. While he's drunk, he tells him, he says, why did my kid get in trouble for something that your kid did? Right? And that is, he's taking ownership of Gue-Rae, even though he doesn't want to. Outwardly, he doesn't want to. Right? Wants to have nothing to do with him. He doesn't want to touch him. He doesn't want to work with him. He would rather that he was not in his team at all. He doesn't want to talk to him, really. But while he's drunk, you're revealing your inner self, your true self, while you're drunk. He pretty much says, like, he's mine, he works on my team, and I'm going to take responsibility for him, even though he says he doesn't want to. So, yeah. That is Sang-Sik. I guess another big plot point really to talk about is that it's revealed or rumored that Jang Gue-Rae has been placed in this job by the director of the company, the guy who runs the entire show. And that, I guess, plays a role sort of in the whole selection of PT partners, because when that gets out, everybody wants to work with him. And I would say that everyone wants to work with him because they think that he is going to, being with him, who is in their minds favored by the owner of the company, by working with him, then they will have a better chance of getting a job, which isn't necessarily true. I don't know, but it's the way everyone thinks. He ends up partnering with a guy who has a lot of charisma. He's a smooth talker. His expertise is the factories out in the field. He doesn't really have any office experience, but he does have a lot of knowledge and all that about the factories. So that kind of plays a part, or that will come out in the last couple of episodes for the week. So with that being said, let's get into episode number 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are just the way the PT, the final test, the final evaluation of the interns turns out. So you have got them, they got to make their presentations on their topics. Number one, they got to, I don't remember what even the first topic was. I don't think it's really, I can't remember it being explained, but the second topic was, you have to take an item and you have to sell it to your partner, right? So those two topics. The first topic, the first presentation, Gue-Rae and his partner both kind of failed. They both weren't able to present particularly well. His partner had a nervous breakdown pretty much as he was about to present for various number of reasons. And Gue-Rae was like, I'm going to do it. But he couldn't do it because he doesn't have any confidence in himself or in what he's even doing. So he wasn't able to do it. But while he's up there struggling to get through the presentation, his partner finally gets it together, and he, is back to his normal charismatic self, the smooth talker, the guy who is really good with words and can, knows what he's doing. So he gives a presentation in the final, few minutes that are remaining in their time allotment, and apparently they did a pretty decent job. The second part of episode number 4 deals more or less entirely with the second presentation, which is them having to sell a product to their other team member, the other PT team member. So Gue-Rae's partner, he wants to sell him fabric from the company in Ulsan, or the factory in Ulsan, and along with all of the different manufacturing specifications and other details which he's got in a notebook. Gue-Rae says, I can get the fabric whenever I want. I don't need to buy the fabric now. And if I wanted to, I could probably buy the fabric elsewhere as well. But I will take your notebook of information and all of that. And so, that was his reasoning. He says, instead, because he has, also, because you have factory experience and I don't, and I have office experience and you don't, let's team together and we will sell the fabric together. The director of the company, the guy who is rumored to have placed Gue-Rae in his job, asks his partner, will you, or do you want to sell this stuff with your partner? And his partner says, I will have to wait and see what Gue-Rae is trying to sell me before I make any sort of comment on that. And so what Gue-Rae pulls out as his the item that he's going to sell, it's a sandal, a slipper, which he says are the combat boots of the office, which doesn't make his partner very happy because he doesn't see how an office job is hard compared to, you know, what the factory workers does. And it hits him kind of home, or it's kind of personal to him because his entire family are factory workers. That's what they've done. His entire family are factory workers. So with what he perceives as Gue-Rae saying, like, you say that factory workers work hard, but I'll tell you office workers work just as hard as well. He kind of takes a bit of offense to that. But Gue-Rae goes on a bit of a monologue and explains it all, which it wasn't translated on Viki. It still isn't translated on Viki. So I have no idea what he said really. But more or less the gist of what I could get is that he's explained all, how the factory and the office are linked together and one cannot exist without the other. And that is why this sandal here is the combat boot, basically the combat footwear of the office worker, while the work boots or whatever the factory workers wear are the combat footwear of the factory. And it was really good. It was even though I didn't understand anything that was being said, more or less, because it wasn't translated, it wasn't subtitled. It was actually quite a moving, moving scene, moving monologue, I guess, because this is the guy who has no confidence in what he's doing, right? He didn't have any confidence to, try and save the first presentation, but he gets up there this time and he gives this speech and he just presents it and he sells his product and he's confident and he knows what he's doing. He's confident in what he's doing. He's confident that he knows what he's doing, and he sells it. Not only does he sell it to his partner, he sells it to everybody else in the room as well. So he is not, and that actually bodes pretty well. The last final things are basically that everyone's out living their life, waiting for a response from the company on whether or not they're going to get the job. And you end the episode and you find out that five of them got jobs. Jang Gue-Rae, his partner, his PT partner, An Young-yi, some other guy who's going to feature probably quite a bit in the story, but he's not going to be terribly important, or he might be relatively important, but he's not going to be vital in the story. And there's, I think, the guy who's the father, which I can't remember his name, but there's five of them that get their jobs. They talk to the director and all that. They meet the director and everything, and then they go off to their respective departments. An Young-yi has been assigned to the resources team, and Jang Gue-Rae has been assigned to the team that he was on before with Sang-Sik. And when he shows up and he basically greets and introduces himself as the contracted employee for that department, Sang-Sik throws a bit of a fit. He didn't want him to be there. He was expecting An Young-yi. And he got the guy that in his mind has no skills. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not going to be an asset to his team at all. So he's not very happy with it, but he does kind of accept that it is, a thing, and he's got to help this kid, and he's got to do what he can to make sure that everything works out well in the end. Because the final scene, you end the week on the rooftop of the office building, and Sang-Sik is talking to Jang Gue-Rae. He is telling him, now that you've got this job, you've got to do well. There is no room for doing poorly. Right? And everyone here, we are living an incomplete life, Miseng, right? Which is the name of the Korean title of the show. He's pulling out a Baduk quote, is what he's saying. So that's going to have a bit of a resonation, I guess you could say, with Gue-Rae, because Baduk was a very important moment in his life, and it has defined him up until this point in time. So he pulls out, he says, we are living in two terms that are used in Baduk. We are living an incomplete life, and then the second part is rebirth. So everyone in this office is living an incomplete life. Obviously, the next part is going to be rebirth. So that is episode 4 is basically where we get what the general plot or where the conclusion of this story is going to end, and is going to end with the rebirth of these 3 characters in a different way. Because right now they're living an incomplete life. They're trying to figure out what it is that they're doing, what their purpose is in life. They're going to try and fill in any of the holes that they feel they have. And by the end of the show, they will have been reborn as different people, same people, but whole people. And it's going to be, I'm sure that it's going to be an emotional roller coaster from now until the end of the show. So I cannot wait until next week for the next episodes. So there we go. That's the conclusion of this episode. I hope you did enjoy it. So that is all that I've got. Before you go, though, please check out the rest of the videos on my channel. And if you want to see more of OMG K-drama or anything else you see on there, then subscribe so that you are updated as soon as I upload any more videos. Also, check me out on Twitter. Click on the link down in the description below. That will take you straight to my Twitter profile. Give me a follow. I would really appreciate that. So, as I said, that is going to be it for this episode. And as always, I want to thank you for watching this episode, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.